a mutiny, employee hijack. Let's get into it. All right, everybody, welcome to another Sunbelt Business Brokers webisode, Business Insider series, where we talk about some of the hairy things that happen during a period where as a seller, you're selling your business, or as a buyer, you're buying your business. You've got each other on the hook, and just the things that come up that can ruin a deal after so much work. And selling a business or buying a business, it's a little bit of a grueling process. It's a hurry up and wait situation. And during that time as time goes by, hairy things arise. And so today we wanted to talk about something that we call a mutiny, employee hijack, where employees hijack your business during a sale and kind of hold you hostage to their demands once they find out that you're selling the business. So today we're joined by our guest, Brian Bacher. Brian is one of our agents on the team, very successful, had a great year last year. Most of his business dealings are in the food industry because he comes from that background. If you go to his profile, you'll see that video where he talks about who he was before Sunbelt. And clients that have worked with Brian have found him to be extremely valuable, so much that most of the businesses he works with come from his own referrals of word of mouth. So with that, I am so happy to have you here today, Brian. Let's get into it. Tell me about what happened with one of your recent deals where this occurred.
Some of these are going to happen, and they can happen in any industry, some a little more than others. But what you're kind of looking for, what we're looking for is like, okay, it's an industry where I've got key employees who are critical to the operation, meaning that store is going to have sales affected, operations affected, possible further staff repercussions if this person leaves. And so we want to be, there's always two sides. It's like we always want to keep things confidential from the staff during the process until we're ready to divulge that we have something going on. But up front, when we're talking to sellers, these are some of the first questions I'm asking. Well, what about staff? And do you have key employees? Is anyone there thinking maybe they want to buy it, or is there an idea in their head that this is a possibility? It's because people get emotional when these things happen. People don't like change. And when the employee is confronted with change, they sometimes will go, you know what, if you sell to this person, I don't like it, I'm out of here. I can get a job somewhere else pretty easy, especially if it's a more specialized world and there's high demand for the staff that has the knowledge or the skills or the hands to do what that job entails. Bakeries, for instance. There's a good amount of bakers out there, not a lot of really good ones. And if you've got a really good baker who's key to your operation, meaning I as an owner can take a week off and they'll run the business for me, hands down. But then all of a sudden you come into the buyer from the side and they're like, if you sell to them, we're out. And a lot of times, depending on the size of the business, the buyer needs that staff to stay. And that's something we coach all the time. It's like, you need those people. And it can put the buyer in a very bad position if they're by the business and all of a sudden they don't have the staff to operate it. That's a material change. And now they're like, how do I earn the income to make these numbers work? I got to hire staff, and it becomes a really bad situation very, very quickly.
Yeah. Now you mentioned the bakery. I think you had recently too, you had a salon, right?
Yeah.
And I think we were just talking about that last week, as a matter of fact. So tell me about that one.
Well, first of all, I kind of learned talking with other people in the salon world, right? If a physical salon changes hands, usually the people who are renting chairs, that's their time to find better, greener pastures, if you will. And so it changes those dynamics. A lot of times these salons will sell only as an actual true asset sale, meaning they're not selling that business with goodwill attached, because the goodwill is in the people renting the chairs. And if they leave, there's no goodwill. So this is one of the challenges with it. This particular situation, the seller was very open and forthcoming with their staff, going, hey, I'm moving for family reasons, and I'm going to sell the salon, And she's trying to maximize her money for this. And the staff literally is just like, you leave, we leave. And now you have no business to sell.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I mean, a lot of people, it's a big concern when you're selling your business. When do I tell my employees? And when a buyer buys my business, are they going to keep my employees? Well, any buyer, you don't have to be very smart. You need to keep those employees because like what you're talking about, this goodwill. Goodwill, really what it is you did the entrepreneurial work. You started the business, you did all the licensing, you set up the clientele, the reputation, you hired the staff, you have the operations in place. That's goodwill. If the staff leaves, you're leaving, you're the owner. You're a very important person. So the staff has to stay to support the new buyer, right? Or the new owner. And if they're gone, your business is worthless because everything else that goes with that goes out the window. Maybe not the name of your business, but that staff isn't going to be there to support the new owner. So yeah, so when staff finds out, they do know sometimes that they have that leverage. Specifically in this situation, without mentioning the name of the business,
Mhm.
can you tell us a little bit about how this happened?
Yeah, I mean, the seller was forthcoming to her staff, say, hey, moving. I thought about trying to run it from a distance, but that doesn't seem like that's going to fit my lifestyle and what I need to be focusing on. So I'm going to sell it. And it helps me to get some extra money for this. So I'm trying to get a feel for if you're going to stay or not. And they were literally just like, we're not staying, we're out of here. Good luck selling it. That was their stance.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, basically, we really didn't have anything to sell except for whatever the depreciated value of the assets were. The chairs, the sinks, the infrastructure, the TI that happened. It wasn't a lot of money. So I mean, they from at least our point of view, they took money out of the seller's pockets and jeopardized making that deal work in any way, shape, or form.
Right. So essentially, because all the goodwill value was lost, the only thing that was left that you could sell essentially was your assets. It's almost like a garage sale. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a liquidation. So what do you think the business would have been worth if it sold with the goodwill intact versus what it's worth with just the assets?
I think, and this was still a smaller salon, right? And I think we'd come up with like, okay, we could probably sell this for, it's between 85 and 95 grand. It's still a really small deal.
Yeah.
If everyone stayed. Without anyone staying, we actually had a buyer in line for 20.
$20,000. So you're talking about 1/5 of the price.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's even still a good amount of money for just assets, but I can't imagine a much larger business. Most businesses we sell are probably in the $200,000 or more price tag
Mhm.
range, and just the destruction cost. I mean, that's as a business owner, that's your almost like your part of your retirement planning just flushed down the toilet. So how
Right.
do you how do you think you can mitigate something like that? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a tough one. It's like, we live in an at-will world here in the state of California. So a buyer doesn't have to keep the staff and the staff doesn't have to stay. We all know this. It is mutually beneficial if the staff stays. What I've learned over the years working with many different sellers is it really boils down to what's the relationship between the owner and the staff.
So the key isn't that as a broker, we can fix that scenario. This is part of planning to sell your business. Another thing we do help with, we will advise you on this, right?
Mhm. Oh
But
yeah.
how do you make sure that your relationship with the staff is where it needs to be when you're ready to sell your business, right?
Yeah, most sellers, most owners, I mean, they are 9 times out of 10, they're telling me, I want to make sure my staff's taken care of. I want to find the right buyer. So, I mean, we're making notes into our due diligence when we're vetting buyers, going, okay, are you someone who's going to take care of that staff and honor this? I mean, once you own it, legally, you can do whatever you want. But most people want to know, yeah, these people have been with me for 15, 20, 30 years in some of these businesses. I want to make sure they're okay when I pass this along. And a lot of it is just being very clear and open communication with things going on. I mean, I had a seller for a plumbing business. Before I could even say anything, he already talked to his staff. I'm retired. I'm selling the business and I'm retiring. And they're just like, bravo. We've been actually waiting for you to retire, right? You need to. You've got other things you want to do. You've been talking about them. You're passionate about them. We're excited. And it worked out great. I mean, they were like pumped. They were along the path of the whole process the whole way through. And it did work out that one of the key members of the staff was the one who bought the business. And so it made that transition really much easier because everyone knew the players.
Yeah,
Whereas
that's
again, the
fantastic.
bakery, even though we were already bringing the buyer in, we were starting to do some training and getting to know the staff, because we deemed at that point that was the best path to go down. It still didn't work out. I wish I could say there's guarantees in this, but there aren't. You got
Yeah.
to look at every situation individually and gauge the temperature of the staff, the market, and just kind of go, okay, what's going on? Can they bail and find a job easy, or do they need to keep that because there isn't anything available?
Right.
That is a little bit of a factor. No one wants to lord over anyone, and we do look for the best case scenario that's a win-win-win, but it doesn't always work out. But I think it does boil down to what's my relationship with that staff, where do we really stand with them?
And those are fantastic points, Brian. And I think anyone that's watching this video or clicked on this video to watch it, you're looking for that magic answer, right? How do I avoid that? Well, the truth is you avoid that by talking to a broker and they help you figure out timing because it's so specific. I mean, yeah, it's your relationship with your staff. It could also be industry. It could be timing. It could be whatever, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And so a business broker, you know, besides the fact that Brian's got his own experience as a business owner prior to coming to Sunbelt, we work with business owners all day long, every day. And this is the type of stuff we see. And it's these types of things, these hairy things, these complicated things that are headaches that you don't think about before you sell your business. Everybody wants the end goal. I need to retire. I need to move out of state. I'm burnt out, whatever the case may be. And they see that end goal. But what happens is the track to that end goal is full of obstacles. And so an advisor is kind of like your coach on how to get over those obstacles so that you can get to that end line, that goal that you initially wanted, with a coach's help by your side. So Brian, I just want to thank you today so much for that insight. You gave the answer I think we need to understand. It's never a black and white thing. You got to talk to somebody who knows what they're talking about. So
Yeah.
any final parting thoughts that you want to give to our viewers about something like this?
Actually, you almost touched on it fully there in your closing comment. This is not a black and white solution. This is a world that's got a lot of gray in between those 2 points. And we're to help through our experience is to guide through that area of gray to see what's going to make the most sense for you, your business, your staff, the buyer. I mean, we're trying to make all those components work to the best of our ability. And I think it's very important that everyone keeps in mind to remain understanding and flexible, something that makes sense, because your emotions will be involved, whether you like it or not.
Well, and I think that's the part of our office that we understand so well, and why we're so good at this. You know, why we're so good at matching a good buyer to a good seller, and we make that marriage happen. We act more like wedding planners because we get the emotional side of it. We preemptively understand that, so that goes into our planning, and that also means in the end for sellers and buyers that we're going to mitigate a lot of that stuff. And it's, you know, you're going to be able to focus more on what you want to do while we help you manage and navigate the things that are emotionally encumbering. So we're like I tell sellers that call this office, we are more like wedding planners. We're not salespeople. We package your business for you, sure. We make it look good, sure. We put it online, sure. But when it comes to talking to buyers and sellers, it's about the individual and how this business is going to work, how this transaction is going to. Anyway, Brian, again, thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate
Thank
it,
you.
and looking forward to having you on another webisode down the road.
What'd you think? Did you have more questions? Did we answer a question you might have already had? Was it boring? Was it exciting? Did it make you think? Is it something that's going to stick in your mind? Let us know, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe in order to get notifications of the next episode. We will be doing about 10 to 15-minute episodes covering nitty-gritty subjects about things that people should really know about before buying a business, or at least be aware of things like this that can happen. We'll see you next time.